15 accountants missed the mark, but the incredible delivery girl exposed a life-changing secret. Jess pedaled furiously through the cracked streets of her working-class suburb, a blur of determination and grit. Delivering hope wrapped in cardboard boxes was just part of her routine, but there was nothing ordinary about the burden she carried. At 22, she was the backbone of her family, supporting her mother, who worked 2 jobs, and caring for her 2 younger siblings, whose laughter often masked the financial troubles spiraling around them. Each package she delivered was a reminder that she was inching closer to a brighter future for them, a future free from the paycheck-to-paycheck life that weighed heavy on their hearts. As she zipped past the lavish Midwestern accounting firm, the grandiosity of the upcoming charity gala loomed large. It was a spectacle not meant for the likes of Jess. The elite would gather, dressed to the nines, pouring champagne and patting themselves on the back for their community efforts. But Jess knew better. Their definition of success was skewed, measured in profit margins and stock options, completely blind to the small shops that lined her neighborhood's rotting streets. Jess, just a few more deliveries, she reminded herself, heart racing as she gripped the handlebars. She couldn't shake the unsettling feeling that the firm's financial miscalculations were wreaking havoc on the very businesses that held her community together. Her friends' parents owned those shops, the corner bakery, the family diner. She had seen the panic in their eyes as invoices went unpaid and shelves went bare. But on one fateful delivery, she stepped inside the florist that always seemed to bloom with life. Her gut twisted when she saw Mrs. Rodriguez frowning as she counted her dwindling cash. Jess could feel the tightness in her chest. This was not just a delivery. It was a lifeline. She offered her help, listening to the struggles of the community, becoming a confidant for people who had lost hope too quickly. The gratitude in their eyes was unspoken, yet it filled her with the strength to push forward. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Gathering stories from the families was exhausting but necessary. Jess compiled testimonials that exposed the cracks in the firm's operations. An internal betrayal from one of the accountants went unnoticed for too long. As the evening of the gala approached, she could feel the weight on her shoulders. This was more than about saving businesses. It was about embodying the spirit of her community. The night arrived, and Jess stood at the back of the hall, feeling small in her plain clothes, the chatter of the elite echoing around her. She took a deep breath, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Is being successful simply about accumulating wealth? She asked, her voice steady but full of fire. Or is it about uplifting one another? Silence enveloped the room, eyes wide with shock as she unveiled the narrow definitions of success. They clung to as she spoke. The tension crackled through the air, a thick knot of unrecognized truth. And just when Jess thought she saw the shift in understanding, she stumbled upon the accountant's secret, a whisper of deceit that would shake their world. The crowd held its breath, trapped between her words and the realization of unspoken betrayals. This was only the beginning. What was she up against, and could she sustain the fight long enough to save her community? The gasp hung in the air as Jess revealed the accountant's treachery, the whispers of disbelief racing through the room like wildfire. Faces turned pale, eyes darting nervously, as what she unveiled sank in. The grand gala, their celebration of charity, now felt like a fragile facade, trembling under the weight of reality. I can help you make it right. Jess's voice cut through the shock like a beacon. But we can't just ignore the harm done to our community. Your decisions affect real lives. She locked eyes with a few attendees. Most were horrified, some seemed defensive, but several looked contemplative. Every heartbeat echoed her hope that they might finally see, might finally care. She took a step forward, her courage rising like a tide. Many of you work with numbers every day. But tonight, I present you with a greater equation, one made up of families, dreams, and countless sacrifices. The crowd was still, suspended in that moment of reckoning. In the corner of the room, Mrs. Rodriguez stood, tears shimmering in her eyes. She was among the silent, unseen victims of the firm's misdeeds. Jess gestured toward the florist, hoping to draw attention to the lives intertwined with the numbers. This woman poured her heart into a business that has been a cornerstone of our community. Look at her. Look at the face of someone who is fighting to survive. A murmur spread through the crowd, a stirring of conscience mixed with guilt, as people began to shift in their seats. Jess pressed on, her passion igniting a fire inside her. You may think success is spreading wealth among yourselves, but true success is ensuring everyone can share in that prosperity. We need to hold ourselves accountable. Just then, a hefty man in a tailored suit stood from his table, the clinking of his glass silencing the room. And what do you propose? He boomed, skepticism dripping from every word. We can't be held responsible for every local business that struggles. Jess felt a bolt of panic but held her ground. You have the power to create change. What if you offered to mentor local business owners? What if the firm committed to fair accounting practices that truly reflect and help our community? You can lift us up instead of allowing us to be pushed down. The man's brow furrowed, the tension in the room snapping as he considered the weight of her words. They didn't just resonate with him. Slowly, others began to nod, their expressions shifting from disbelief to contemplation. Just as Jess thought the tide was turning, a voice rang out from the back. How do we know this isn't just a scheme? It was another accountant, voice dripping with doubt. The skepticism was like a cold splash of water. Yet, Jess fueled her resolve with every ounce of determination within her. Because I'm not selling hope for profit, she asserted fiercely. I'm here because I believe in this community, and I'm tired of watching people suffer. Her heart raced as she let those words settle, knowing she was now in a high-stakes game with everything on the line. The crowd remained torn, grappling with their misconceptions of success and the weight of their past choices. Jess stepped back, catching her breath. Had she reached them? Would they rally to her cause? As she surveyed the room, the flickering chandeliers caught the glint of something unexpected. A woman approached, her face familiar but her demeanor uncertain. Jess, she began hesitantly. There's something you need to know, something more about the accountant's secret. Jess's pulse quickened. Her mind raced with possibilities. What more could she uncover? And at what cost? Everything was on the verge of change, and now the thread of a deeper truth was beginning to unravel. Would it lead Jess to the heart of the problem, or to a trap she couldn't escape? Jess's heart hammered in her chest as she recognized the woman approaching her. It was Daphne, a former employee at the accounting firm, someone who had helped them balance the books before she left under questionable circumstances. The tension around them felt thicker than ever, the eyes of the gala glued to their exchange. What do you mean? Jess asked, her voice barely above a whisper. What do you know? Daphne glanced nervously at the crowd, a mix of fear and urgency skimming across her features. It's about the accountant. He's not just skimming from the top. He's involved in something much darker. She licked her lips, steeling herself. There are hidden transactions. Money being funneled to people you wouldn't believe. It's all to cover up the extent of what he has done. Every word Daphne spoke sent a chill down Jess' spine. The implications were staggering. Are you sure? We need proof. I didn't want to believe it, but I found spreadsheets files that point to offshore accounts. Daphne interrupted, her voice quivering with the weight of her confession. If we exposed him, we could bring the truth to light, to everyone here. A sharp gasp echoed from the crowd. A few guests had clearly overheard their conversation, and whispers began ricocheting through the room again. Jess felt a desperate need to control the narrative. We need to gain the auditorium's attention, she announced, her resolve reignited. If there's a chance to prove the truth, we have to act boldly. Daphne nodded, her eyes widening with a mix of hope and fear. But how? If the accountant gets wind of this, he'll do anything to cover his tracks. You'll be putting yourself at risk. Then let it be known, Jess replied fiercely, determination flooding her veins. We've already faced enough danger. If no one speaks out, nothing will change. Together, we'll stand up for our community. As they gathered their thoughts, there was a sudden commotion at the back of the room. Jess turned to see Mrs. Rodriguez stepping forward, arms crossed defiantly. She's right. We can't be held hostage by fear anymore. Our lives depend on the truth. The courage of the florist gave Jess goosebumps, breathing life into the room. Other faces, previously uncertain, began to shift from indifference to resolve. "Let us gather evidence," shouted another voice. "Let us expose the lies." Around the room, a murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Jess felt her pulse quickening, fueled by hope but tinged with apprehension. If they stood together, they might break through the walls of deceit. Just as they began strategizing together, the same hefty man from earlier raised his voice, booming over the chorus. "You amateurs think you can take this on? Do you know the kind of power you're up against?" "More than you think," Jess shot back. "People like you rely on fear to maintain control. That is changing now." As the stakes heightened, Jess felt her breath catch in her throat. The room's energy shifted. Were they ready for this fight? Could they truly unravel the corruption and bring light to their community? But before she could ponder further, Daphne clutched her arm. "What if the accountant has people watching waiting? We have to act fast while we still can." A light flashed in Jess's eyes, a possibility blooming within her. "Then let's lay the groundwork for our plan. But where do we begin?" With Daphne's revelations still fresh, the path ahead loomed uncertain and fraught with danger. What if the very heart of their community was about to crumble before it had a chance to heal? Jess steeled herself, knowing that every choice they made from this point on could lead to liberation or a devastating collapse. And for the first time, she felt the weight of leadership draped around her shoulders. A deep breath steadied her resolve. How far was she willing to go, and what would be the price of truth? They were on the brink of something explosive. Jess could feel it in the pit of her stomach. But how much could they risk before the accountant found out and set his plan in motion? Jess's eyes darted around the room as the crowd's energy surged. Voices merged into a cacophony of panic and determination. Her heart raced, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. They needed a plan, something concrete, something that could combat the looming threat of the accountant's power. "Okay, everyone listen," Jess called out, her voice cutting through the noise. She stepped forward, drawing all attention to her. "We need to be organized. If we're going to outsmart him, we have to move swiftly and strategically." Daphne stood beside her, nodding furiously. "Jess is right. We can't just go charging in without a clear idea. We'll need to form a team to gather the evidence." "I can help with that. I know what to look for." A murmur of approval spread through the crowd. It felt good to see resolve etched on their faces, a mixture of fear and bravery sparking something new among them. Jess felt a firming of her stomach, a boldness taking root. "Let us split up," she suggested. "Some of us can investigate quietly, look into the transactions. Others can figure out who we can trust not to warn him." "That's a solid plan," said Mrs. Rodriguez, her voice cracking slightly. "We can't trust just anyone. We need to stay under the radar." While Jess absorbed the crowd's energy, drawing strength from their unity, the hefty man brandished his arms. "You're all fools. Do you really think you can take him down? You'll just end up powerless and exposed." His words were laced with venom, but now they only ignited the group's resolve. "Better a fool who tries than a coward who sits back and watches," shouted a voice from the crowd. Jess turned, her heart swelling with warmth. People were starting to believe. She could feel a spirit of determination shifting the air around them. "Let us meet back here in an hour," Jess instructed, her voice steady now. "We'll share our findings and figure out our next steps. Everyone," she added, emphasizing the word, "the truth is on our side." As the crowd began to disperse, Jess found Daphne still by her side. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, concern creeping into her voice. "What if we find something we weren't prepared for?" Jess's thoughts flashed to the consequences of their actions. Could they truly take on the accountant? However, that flash of fear ignited something deeper inside her. "We won't know unless we try," she said, looking directly into Daphne's eyes. "What we're doing is bigger than ourselves. We can't let him continue to ruin lives because we're afraid." With that conviction hanging in the air, Jess turned to find a small group forming behind her. A shy man with a stutter stepped forward. "I've been looking into our bank statements. I think I've noticed something strange at the local credit union." He cleared his throat, urgency flooding his expression. "I can help with what I have if you'll allow me." It was moments like this that fueled Jess's fire, a sense of community rising from the ashes of fear. "Absolutely, every piece counts," she exclaimed, energized by his courage. They exchanged hurried plans before scattering. The weight of their responsibility pressed heavily on Jess's heart, but she cherished the fire in the hearts around her. Each step they took felt like a bold declaration against the accountant, a stand that she hoped would ripple through their community. As Jess made her way toward her first target, she couldn't shake the feeling that time was slipping through their fingers. The stakes were impossibly high, and with every tick of the clock, the threat grew. What would happen if they didn't find what they needed? What if opposing the accountant only put them in more danger? An icy shiver traced her spine. Yet amidst the fear, determination simmered. They were all in this together, and they were fighting for their freedom, a freedom that was just beginning to feel within reach. But would their bravery be enough to unveil the truth, or would the darkness take yet another victim? Jess pushed through the heavy door of the local credit union, her heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The smell of polished wood and fresh paper mixed with the uneasy weight of what lay before her. She had to find something concrete, something to clue them in on the accountant's hidden dealings. Every step felt deliberate, as if the linoleum beneath her feet whispered warnings and secrets. The lobby was empty, save for a couple of employees, their heads bent over paperwork. Jess took a deep breath, steeling herself. She couldn't hesitate now, not when so much was at stake. With quiet confidence, she approached the counter, forcing a smile despite the unease biting at her edges. "Hi there. I'm Jess. I need to review some bank statements for personal reasons," she announced, her voice steady, betraying no hint of the inside turmoil. The teller raised an eyebrow, but Jess kept her composure, gripping the edge of the counter as if it were her lifeline. "I can provide my account number. I think some irregularities have come to light." The teller eyed her warily but nodded, typing details into the computer. Jess felt the seconds stretch like taffy, every tick of the clock dripping with urgency. She just needed to piece together information that could unravel the accountant's web. The teller scrambled to print her statements. Jess scanned the small office. Everything felt ordinary, yet every corner seemed to hide something sinister. "Here you go," the teller said, handing her a stack of papers. "Just take a seat over there if you need more time." Jess took the pages, her heart racing with anticipation. She settled into a chair, unfurling the statements before her. The numbers danced off the page: deposits, withdrawals, dates, and amounts. Suddenly, a flicker of something caught her eye. There it was, a consistent, unusual transaction, large sums going to a company she had never heard of. She bit her bottom lip, adrenaline coursing through her veins. This was it. This was the lead they needed. A knot of fear tied in her stomach as she realized the implications of what she was seeing. The accountant had been using these transactions to cover his tracks. Just then, her phone buzzed in her pocket. It was a message from Daphne. "Found anything? We're counting on you." Jess quickly typed back, "Yes. Something big. Meet back soon." She refocused on the papers, eyes wide, scanning each line. As she flipped through, her stomach dropped. There were multiple transactions showing barely disguised accounts being funneled to the same shell company. It was a glaring red flag, and her gut twisted at the thought of what it could mean. What if, coupled with her findings, they could finally expose the accountant's grasp over the community? But what if they were wrong? What if it spiraled into more danger? Pushing the thoughts aside, she took photos of the relevant pages, her hands shaking from excitement and fear. She would need this evidence. Even if there were risks, she couldn't allow herself to fall back now. Just as she stood to leave, the door swung open. The hefty man from earlier strode in, his gaze scouring the space. Jess's breath caught in her throat. He was here. She sidled toward the back exit, heart hammering. She couldn't be seen. Couldn't make her mission any more obvious. The safety of the group depended on what she knew. As the hefty man walked closer to the counter, Jess felt fear shoot through her veins. Would he recognize her? Would he stop her before she could reveal the truth? In that moment, she steeled her resolve. It was now or never. With a quick glance around and a steadying breath, she slipped out the back door, her mind racing with possibilities and danger. Each step she took away from the credit union felt heavy, but the thrill of discovery pushed her forward. What awaited her with the others? Would they be ready to confront the danger? Jess's heart surged with hope, but a chill gnawed at her thoughts. What made her think they could win this fight? Jess hurried down the narrow alley, her heart still racing from the close call. The cool air wrapped around her, but instead of soothing her nerves, it only fueled her determination. She clutched the phone tightly in one hand, the images of the statements fresh in her mind. Could that hefty man be tied to the transactions? Was he the accountant's muscle? The weight of her discovery pressed on her shoulders like an anchor, but deep down, it sparked a flame of hope. She had what they needed. With the right approach, they could turn the tides. As she burst out onto the main street, Jess spotted Daphne pacing by the coffee shop, anxiety written across her face. Upon seeing her, Daphne rushed over, her brows knitting together. "You found something, right?" "Yes. Big time," Jess replied, her voice steadier than she felt. "But we need to head back to the house. I really don't want to chat here." Daphne nodded, her determination mirroring Jess's. They made their way through the bustling streets, each step a testament to their resolve. The chatter of the city filled the air, but all Jess could focus on was the knowledge she carried. Once they reached the small, worn-down house they had turned into their makeshift headquarters, Jess wasted no time. She spread out the bank statements on the dining table, the words and numbers jumping into focus under the kitchen's harsh light. "Look at this," she said, pointing at the discrepancies with trembling fingers. "Money flowing to this shell company. It's all here. We can take this to the police." Daphne's eyes widened as she scanned the statements. "This is huge, Jess. But what if we're wrong? What if it backfires?" Jess felt that nagging doubt creep back in. The stakes were high, and the fear of being wrong could shatter everything they had built. "I don't want to risk anything if we're just guessing," Jess admitted, guilt twisting her gut. "But look at the patterns. Someone is pulling the strings, and it goes deeper than we thought." Just then, their friend Leon entered, his smile faltering when he saw the tension. "What is going on?" Jess met his inquisitive gaze. "We found something at the credit union, evidence pointing at the accountant being involved in something seriously shady. We think it connects to the larger case we've been worried about." Leon sat down, brows furrowing as he processed the weight of her words. "Have you considered talking to someone who knows the law? You might need guidance." "Absolutely," Jess agreed, glancing at Daphne. "But we have to be careful. I don't want this to circle back to us." Daphne bit her lip, then nodded. "Let us think about the next steps. If we can show that this isn't just a hunch, but backed by numbers, maybe we can get some traction." The conversation surged with energy as they strategized, the fear slowly ebbing to make way for a sense of purpose. Jess felt a rush of warmth as they wrestled with ideas, as if the shadows that had loomed over them began to recede just a little, but that warmth was fleeting. The nagging thought that they might be in over their heads lingered in the corners of her mind. As if on cue, Jess's phone buzzed, snapping her back from her thoughts. A chilling message from an unknown number blinked on the screen. "You're getting too close." The blood drained from her face. "What is it?" Daphne asked, concern lacing her voice. With trembling hands, Jess showed them the message. "We need to be careful. Someone is watching." The atmosphere shifted, the air thick with tension. Jess felt the shadows closing in again. Would they be able to unveil the truth without losing themselves in the process? As they exchanged uneasy glances, one question loomed larger than the rest. How far were they willing to go to expose the accountant's secrets, and at what cost? The room was silent, the weight of Jess's revelation hanging heavy in the air. Each of them seemed to hold their breath, waiting for someone to break the spell. The message felt like a loud siren in their ears, warning them of danger lurking just outside their safe little bubble. "What do we do now?" Leon finally broke the uncomfortable stillness. The concern in his voice pulled Jess's thoughts into focus, flushing away the dizziness. "First, we need to secure this information," Jess said, her tone sharper now. "If they know we're onto them, they might try to cover their tracks. We can't let that happen. And we can't let anyone know we're involved," Daphne added. She leaned forward, her hands gripping the edge of the table, knuckles white. "We need to be smart about this. We have to figure out our next step without drawing attention." Jess nodded, adrenaline making her feel alive and terrified at the same time. "We should go to the police, but we need to figure out a way to protect ourselves." "What if they're on the accountant's side?" Leon's brow furrowed deeper. "You could talk to that lawyer, the one who specializes in white-collar crime. He might give us advice without putting you in the spotlight." "I can call him now." Jess felt another wave of clarity wash over her. The chaos inside her mind began to settle, each beat of her heart matching her resolve. But the shrill panic of the warning message still echoed as she picked up her phone. As she dialed, The room erupted into a low murmur of strategizing whispers. The seconds stretched as she listened to the ring on the other end, her heart racing with the weight of trust. "Hello?" came the lawyer's voice, smooth but wary. "Hi, it's Jess. I need your help urgently." "Okay," he said, the line crisp. "What is going on?" Jess swallowed hard, quickly summarizing their discoveries and the chilling text. The more she said, the more real it felt, as if they were tangling deeper into the web of their own fears. "I see. You need to be very careful. Trust is thin, so tread lightly." His voice turned serious, a quiet intensity spilling through the receiver. "I suggest we meet. I can't guide you over the phone. It's too risky. Can you meet here?" Jess asked, glancing anxiously at Daphne and Leon. "Not ideal. You don't want to draw any eyes to that place." "Then where?" Jess felt a shiver run down her spine. Time was slipping away, and they needed answers now. "Meet me at the park. The one downtown. I'll be there in an hour," he instructed, his voice firm. "Just be cautious. We can discuss without sketchy years over us." As Jess hung up, the relief was bittersweet. "He'll meet us," she said, quickened heartbeats dancing in her chest. "But he wants to meet in public." "That's good," Daphne replied. "But we still don't know who we can trust. We can't let anyone else get involved just yet." With the clock ticking closer toward their meeting, Jess's thoughts twisted and turned. She felt like a puppet in a much bigger game, and the stakes were higher than ever. The shadows creeping closer were not just an inconvenience, they were a warning. "Let us not lose sight of why we're doing this," Jess declared, turning fierce eyes toward her friends. "We can't let this go. We owe it to those people who have suffered. We fight for them." With a renewed sense of purpose, Jess caught Daphne's gaze. "But we also have to keep each other safe." But as they prepared to leave, Jess's phone buzzed again. Another message. Her breath caught as she glanced down. It said simply, "I can see you." Panic flooded through her. This was getting dangerous. Did they already have eyes on them? "Guys, we need to move. Now." As they gathered their things, Jess couldn't shake the feeling that they were being drawn into something much darker than they ever intended. How much longer could they keep this chase going before it swallowed them whole? The air felt heavy as Jess, Leon, and Daphne stepped out of the cafe. Their breaths came quick, the weight of trepidation lingering in their minds like a storm cloud. The city buzzed around them, oblivious to the turmoil swirling at their center. The streets were bustling, laughter and chatter filtering through the tension, but nothing could drown out the growing sense of urgency bubbling beneath the surface. "Where do we go?" Leon asked, his voice low, eyes scanning the surroundings as if danger would leap out from behind the nearest corner. "The park, downtown," Jess replied, her heart racing. "We just need to stay inconspicuous. Stay close and act normal." Daphne nodded, her face pale but determined. "No sudden movements. We just need to reach the lawyer and figure out our next steps." As they walked, Jess couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. Every passerby seemed to cast a sideways glance. Her phone vibrated again, causing a jolt in her chest. She pulled it out, half hoping it would be some reassurance, maybe a word of caution from the lawyer. But when she looked down, her stomach dropped. Another message. "Still watching, is that from?" Daphne began, but Jess cut her off. "Yeah, we should hurry." Moving quicker now, they wove through the throngs of people, the air thick with the smells of food stalls and street vendors. A flicker of movement caught Jess's eye, a shadow that slipped in and out among the crowd. Her heart raced again as they approached a crosswalk. "Do you think they could be here?" Leon whispered, glancing over his shoulder. "Let us just focus on getting to the park. Once we're there, we'll be in a public space. We can figure this out." Jess tried to sound more confident than she felt, tightening her grip on her bag. The park lay ahead, a green oasis amidst the chaos. They pushed through the entrance, a momentary sense of relief washing over them. Squirrels dashed across the path, children laughed nearby. But the peace felt fragile, like the calm before an impending storm. "Let us find a bench, but keep an eye out for him," Jess instructed. They settled quietly, pretending to be just three friends enjoying the day. Minutes passed like hours. Jess's heart raced with each new face that appeared but did not belong to the lawyer. She took a moment to breathe, trying to gather her scattered thoughts. What if they were being set up? What if it was all a trap? "Do you think he'll show?" Daphne asked, chewing her lip anxiously. "He has to," Jess replied, trying to hold on to hope. "He knows how serious this is." Just then, a man approached, his expression unreadable under a baseball cap pulled low. Jess felt a chill run through her, instincts flaring. "Don't look now," she whispered to her friends. "That guy, I think he has been following us." Before either of them could respond, she shifted her gaze back to the man. He stopped, scanning the area, and then his eyes shot to Jess. It was like a lightning bolt had struck. Her breath hitched as he started to move toward them. "What should we do?" Leon murmured, barely above a whisper, but Jess could see fear etched in his features. "Stay calm. Let me handle this," Jess said, her voice steady despite the storm inside her. The man was seconds away from reaching them, and time seemed to slow. "Jess!" The voice of the lawyer broke through the thick tension as he appeared, suddenly, like a lifeline tossed into turbulent waters. But before Jess could react, she heard the snap of the man's phone camera and felt the world tilt. The looming danger around them shifted. "Come on," she yelled, grabbing Leon and Daphne's arms, pulling them out of sight just as the lawyer reached them. "This way." Everything raced in a dizzying blur. As they swung into a narrow path lined with greenery, Jess glanced back. She knew they had to keep moving. They were already in too deep. The heart of the matter lay in the shadows, and one wrong move could drown them all. "Jess, wait." The lawyer's voice was urgent, but she couldn't stop now. Not when the stakes were sky high. What were they really up against? And who could they trust? In a game where secrets were currency and betrayal a breath away, questions swirled as they dashed through the park. But Jess couldn't shake the feeling that their search for answers was only just beginning. Would they find safety, or were they racing deeper into a trap they couldn't escape? They sprinted deeper into the park, the chaos of their surroundings fading into a distant hum. The laughter of children, once a source of comfort, now felt like a taunt. Jess's heart thudded violently as they cut through a gap in the trees, adrenaline coursing through her veins. Everything felt heightened, the colors brighter, the sounds sharper. "What if he gets our pictures?" Daphne gasped, her eyes wide with fear. "What if he posts them? We can't go back, we can't." "Focus on the moment," Jess urged, glancing back to see the man still lingering at the park entrance, his expression inscrutable. "We just need to keep moving. We can't let him corner us." Leon trailed closely, breathing heavily, his face a mask of worry. "Are we sure the lawyer can handle this? What if he has part of it?" "Stop that," Jess snapped, her voice laced with frustration. "We don't have time to question every single person. We need his help." Suddenly, the lawyer caught up with them, his face flushed and his breath steep. "What is happening? I saw him. Who is he?" His eyes darted around, clearly wary. "He has been following us. We think he is part of the setup," Jess breathed out, adrenaline fueling her panic. "He took a picture. All right, we need to move to my car. It's not far from here." The lawyer spoke with authority, but Jess noted the flicker of fear in his gaze. They charged through the park, their footsteps quickening as the trees thinned. As they neared the edge, Jess's thoughts raced. Who was this man? And why did he seem so intent on following them? "Here." The lawyer gestured to a beat-up sedan parked near the curb. Jess glimpsed an elderly woman gazing at them with concern as they approached, but there was no time to explain. They piled into the car, the lawyer taking the wheel. Jess felt a rush of relief. Safety was close, or so she thought. But the moment they started moving, Jess's phone buzzed again, another message. This time, even more cryptic. "Turn back now before it's too late. Who is it?" Leon asked, his voice trembling. "Are they talking about us?" "I don't know," Jess murmured, shaking her head. "I don't know who is sending these messages. But it can't be good." The lawyer's grip on the steering wheel tightened, and he glanced at Jess in the rearview mirror. "We need to figure out who is behind this. If they can track you, they could already know about me. What is our next step?" Daphne's voice was trembling, but there was a fire behind her fear. Jess admired that spark amid the chaos. "We need to change our appearance. Get new clothes, maybe a wig or something," Jess suggested. "But we also need to figure out who that man is. The sooner we find out, the better." "What about my apartment?" Leon asked, panic rising in his tone. "What if they have eyes there?" "I think we should stay away from anywhere familiar," the lawyer answered. "We need a safe location to regroup. Trust me." The car whizzed by familiar streets, their surroundings becoming more of a blur. Jess's mind raced, each heartbeat echoing the uncertainty that loomed over them. But as they turned down an alley, the sound of tires screeching abruptly pulled them back to reality. Jess, look. Daphne pointed toward the rearview mirror, her voice rising to a pitch that sent chills up Jess's spine. The man from the park had followed them, his car dangerously close. Go, go, Jess shouted, adrenaline forcing her body to react before her mind could catch up. The lawyer hit the gas, but deep down, Jess feared it might already be too late. As they sped away, Jess couldn't shake the feeling that all of this was only the beginning. In the chaos of their escape, they had stumbled into something far bigger than any of them had anticipated. What else lay hidden in the shadows? Would they unearth the truth in time to save themselves? Or would they uncover a secret that changed everything they thought they knew? The weight of the world felt like it was pressing down on Jess as they sped through the twisting streets, adrenaline pounding in her veins. The man from the park was relentless, in hot pursuit, but Jess kept her focus on the hope lingering just out of reach, a hope for her community, her family, and the truth that they all so desperately needed. Stay close. We need to find a plan, Jess shouted, her voice filled with urgency. The lawyer's fingers gripped the wheel like a vice, weaving through traffic. I know a place we can lay low for a bit, he said, but we'll have to be quick. Yes, right on our tail. Every minute felt like an hour. Their breaths hung heavy in the air, the looming threat feeling ever closer. I'll text everyone we can trust. They need to know what's going on, Jess proposed, her heart racing as she typed quickly on her phone. Her heartbeat synchronized with the pulse of uncertainty around them. Daphne leaned over, her voice barely above a whisper. Can we even trust him? She asked, eyes darting back towards the rearview mirror. What if he is part of this? Jess locked eyes with her. We have to trust someone. If we keep looking over our shoulders, we'll never move forward. Their eyes flicked to the lawyer, who caught their gaze in the mirror. I'm on your side. Trust me, he urged. But we need to stick to the plan. Let us get to my office, where it's safe. We'll regroup and figure this out. They rounded a corner, and Jess felt a flicker of hope sparking within her. If they could just get to safety, then they could expose the accountant for everything he had done. As they pulled into an unmarked lot behind a dilapidated building, Jess's heart raced with mixed emotions: fear, hope, determination. They piled out of the car and hurried inside. The air smelled stale but held a promise of safety away from prying eyes. Once in the dimly lit office, Jess slumped against a wall, gathering her racing thoughts. We have to work fast. That man knows too much, she said, urgency weaving through her words. The lawyer escorted them into a small conference room sparsely decorated with flickering fluorescent lights overhead. We need to lay everything out. What do you have? Jess unfolded the bank statements on the table, her fingers trembling slightly as she pointed to the discrepancies, details forming a chaotic but revealing picture of deceit. Here, this is where the money is funneling to that shell company. If we can tie this back to the accountant, we could finally bring him down. Okay, let us prove this, the lawyer said, eyes darting over the paperwork. But we need more than just your findings. We need witnesses. We need others willing to stand with you. Daphne stepped forward, a fierce determination illuminating her features. Mrs. Rodriguez, the florist. She's faced the brunt of this. If she can speak out, it might sway other business owners. That's it, Jess said, drawing strength from the idea. We can rally the community. We need them to see this is about all of us. Just then, Jess's phone buzzed another chilling message. You think you can turn the tide? Not on my watch. Her heart sank, panic tightening around her chest. The lawyer glanced over her shoulder, his brows knitting together. We need to act. Now, let us formulate the plan, Jess said, her voice steady with newfound resolve. We'll gather as many people as we can. Together we'll stand against him. The more voices we have, the harder it will be for them to silence us. The air crackled with the energy of determination, each face around the table shining with a fierce light. Jess felt the warmth of unity radiating through her, like they were weaving a tapestry of hope that would draw the community together. Let us reconnect with those who we know are struggling: the bakery, the diner, everyone, Daphne added, her excitement infectious. Within minutes, Jess had texted everyone they could reach while the lawyer drew up a basic strategy. They would divide into groups, gather testimonies, and bring them together for a pivotal meeting where the accountant's darker dealings would be unveiled. The police needed to be involved. 2.as ideas flowed, plans solidified, and chatter lifted the weight around them. An unmistakable shift took place within Jess. This was that she was no longer merely a delivery girl. She was now a beacon of hope, a fighter for change. With adrenaline coursing through her veins and purpose igniting her spirit, Jess knew the road ahead would not be easy. But she wasn't alone. Together, they would unveil the truth and reclaim the future of their community as they prepared to step out into the world. Every ounce of doubt was replaced with fierce determination. "Let us do this," Jess declared, locking eyes with her friends, ready to face whatever lay ahead. And as they pushed through the door, stepping into the sunlight, Jess felt an exhilarating moment of clarity. This time, they would not back down. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are changing lives. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show your support. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending, and share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show you care. Don't wait not even one more second to share. True fans understand how important every action is to keep this movement alive.